What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode. Today is going to be all about time lapses. More specifically, time lapses on the Pixel 3. That's what this is. So I noticed recently online somewhere that the Pixel 3As just came out, and that someone mentioned that they were going to have the time lapse ability in there, and then after the Pixel 3A came out, then Google was going to push out the time lapse feature to the rest of the Pixel 3s. I don't know if they're doing it to the Pixel 2s or not, but it's on the Pixel 3. This is my son's Pixel 3, and I stole it from him. And sure enough, the time-lapse feature is there. So let's get into it. First off, this is not a full-on time-lapse feature. I was a little bit excited at first, and then when I got it, I realized that this is basically the same hyperlapse mode as in the Samsung Galaxy phones that I have. And that's basically what this is in the Pixel, except they do call it time-lapse mode, but it works exactly the same. So we have 1, 5, 10, 30, and 120 times speed is the settings that they have for the time-lapse mode. And again, that's very similar to the Samsung's hyperlapse mode. It's all auto controls, so if you're hoping for something manual, you're gonna have to go to a third-party app for that. And basically, this is like movie recording that's going to be sped up, and they're going to chop out bits in between based on what setting you pick. So I don't think it's actually going to be photos, and if you want that, again, third-party apps. But let's go ahead and focus on what this does and what it can do. I'm going to go out here and test it on a few different settings and a few different ways that I think we could pull off some decent time lapses with this thing, and then we'll see how it does. Alright, so let's check out the settings real quick. If you're new to the Pixel or the time-lapse feature in general, I'm just going to go ahead and double click on my power button there. It'll bring open my camera. And then now we have the camera layout for the time-lapse. You're going to want to go into More, and then we're going to select time-lapse. So once you have that selected, now you'll see over here, this is the speed. So we've got one time, and what I really like about this is it shows you approximately. So 50 seconds is equal 10 seconds. Click on the 10 times, 100 seconds equals 10 seconds, and then click on the 30 times, 5 minutes equals 10 seconds of playback video, and then 120 equals 20 minutes equals 10 seconds of playback. So that's really handy, and I like that a lot. So then when we have the setting that we want, we go ahead and hit record. The nice thing is now you'll see down here, you'll see the little counter, and it's counting in real time, and then it'll equate to the elapsed time-lapse time for how long the video will actually play back. And so once it hits like 20 minutes, you'll see it'll say 10 seconds. And if you decide that you only want a 5-second time-lapse, then you can stop it when you're there. Okay, day 2. So we went out all yesterday and we filmed a few different time lapses and got to figure things out. And then we just filmed a couple out here at our campsite today and last night. So a couple of things that I've learned regarding the Pixel's time-lapse functionality. And again, like I said, it's not actually time-lapse, it's a hyperlapse. So a couple of the negative things that I found out that I have kind of an issue with, other than the fact that it's completely automatic and you have no control. The other downside is that even if you set it to 4K in the video, like the rear camera, 4K, all that stuff, even if you set it to that, the time-lapse function is limited to 1080p, it would seem, because everything I have done so far I had set in 4K, and it has rendered out in 1080p inside the phone, so there's no way I can change that. So that's kind of a bummer. It is nice though that it does have an exposure lock in the video mode, so that when you get your focus and you get your exposure, you can lock it down on that exposure. And that's really handy because, especially in a situation like this where the light is changing drastically, if you leave that on auto, it could definitely do some wonky things. But overall, I was really impressed with its ability in auto mode to deal with the changing light. And like doing this hyperlapse downtown, there was times where I'm going through the shade and times where I'm going through the sun, and it's super bright and then it's super dark. And it did a really good job at handling the dynamic range and the exposure overall. And then like these clips here, putting it in the time-lapse mode and then putting it on the various settings and then driving through the woods. I just had Brittany basically just hold it out the window, and it did a surprisingly good job. She told me at the end she didn't think it was going to work because she was shaking too much, you know, and the curves and the road and all that, but it did pretty decent. So if you were to get a gimbal or something, that would definitely make a huge difference. But unfortunately I don't have one of those, so we're just gonna have to use in-camera stabilization. But it's nice to know that you can do that kind of stuff handheld if you have to. So that's pretty much it for the time-lapse functionality here. There's not much to it. Like I said, it's all in auto. It has the nice speeds. I do like that it goes up to the 120 times speed. I think maybe that's like a little bit faster than the fastest one that my S9 Plus and my S10 can do. So that's nice. And I love, again, how it shows you the approximate times for the speeds and the elapsed times. I think that'll really help people figure out like how long they need to set it for. So who do I think this is for? I'm not sure how much I will personally use this because I usually use my DSLRs. However, I think that it's great if you don't have your DSLRs, obviously, then it does a great job and I wouldn't complain then. But if you just need some B-roll clips, time-lapse type stuff to throw into your vlog or just extra footage or whatever, I think this is a great addition and it'll really help up that cinematic style and storytelling and all that stuff. But then I also think with the addition of like the Moment lenses or something, and I'm not sponsored by them or anything, it's just what I have, what I use, but I did throw on the Moment wide angle for this stuff, and then I threw on the Moment telephoto, and then even combined the telephoto with the amazing zoom features of the Pixel to be able to get a little closer to those mountains for the time-lapse that were really far away. I think adding all of that stuff and combining all of that stuff is really going to give you some really cool options for making some cool time lapses. It's also really cool to do time lapses of like when you're setting stuff up or you're working or something like that, and I think that is what this is really going to excel. Something that doesn't have like crazy amount of like dramatic light, even though this actually kind of did. I came to the forest because I thought it would be a little more shady, but we ended up having like this really big dynamic range, and the phone actually handled it really well, and I really liked the way that the tent setup and breakdown time lapses ended up looking. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about any of the time lapse functionality in the Pixels that I went over or didn't go over, make sure you leave those in the comments below and I'll definitely answer them. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've got new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Hit that like button if this video helped you out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.